And people like Michael Graves and Vincent Scully liked all architecture that was good. Without any problem, they didn't cause a kind of trauma. We were taught to like whatever was good. And I'm forever grateful for that, because when I travel, the degree of that which I enjoy, just the sheer pleasure, the smorgasbord of the world is much greater. And we must really thank that period, but also those two professors of ours, Scully and Graves, who liked it all and used it all. That was very important. And Leo, in case it's not clear, what he taught us was how to be polemical. Those brilliant early drawings of his. And you should know that his collected works are about to be published by, very soon. Duany has edited and laid out the book, and it's this thick. That's how much work Leo has. And it's all instructive, because every one of the things we need to know, from the diagram of a neighborhood to how to build on slopes, has been systematically engaged one after another by Leo. It's a complete body of knowledge. That will come out. And about the Driehaus Award, because it is a collective award, Les alluded to this, because we earned this collectively, it is incorrect if we took the generous award to ourselves and used it personally. So we have arranged to have it donated to a not-for-profit, where it will be used to fund as many as 10 books towards the furtherance of this endeavor that we share. And so there'll be an enormous multiplier effect with this award. You'll see the books coming out, and Leo's book will be the first. It was laid out before. Now, I'm expected to, I think it's my role not just to thank and be nice, but to, I have one. Let me just begin by actually thanking another entirely different kind of person, which is, I have to thank our opponents. Not only because they've been intelligent enough to engage us at a very high level, but because of their sheer tactical ineptitude. It is astounding how easy it has been, not in their small circumscribed world to succeed, but in the larger world, how much they have conceded of the world to us by being blinkered by ideology. Just amazing. The inflexibility, the fascination by extremely transient elements, the fascination, the performance that they make. Here you have people of the highest talent that actually perform for the good regard of about 6 critics. About 6 critics. And these critics raise them and then throw them down when they're done. And we have already seen in our own time what has happened to brilliant people. Charles Moore, raised and then thrown down. Michael Graves, raised and then thrown down. One after another, that kind of thing. And why they engage in this is absolutely extraordinary. Not only the raising and throwing down, which happens inevitably and will happen to all of them, but that they do it for so few people, for the regard of so few people. And what we do is entirely different, and what we do is important because we do it not for those 6, but essentially for America at large. And when people say, aren't you worried about what Orosov said, or the fellow in LA whose name I haven't even bothered to learn, frankly. And they say, I don't know absolutely anyone who reads that stuff. It has absolutely no effect. I cannot, for what it would take me to write a response which was publishable. I could collar 3 clients. What is the value of my time? And it certainly is not to respond, because that would only make them powerful. If we were to respond, it would only empower them by the recognition that they matter to our world, and they don't matter to our world. They matter to their world, which is self-defined. They're having their own discourse. By the way, absolutely fascinating, and I follow it closely, but I do not pretend that it matters to our world. Now, what is our world? And why is traditional architecture important? Traditional architecture is the way we communicate to the American middle class. Okay? The American upper class is often highly educated, and they're patrons. And they hire terrific architects, pay very well for difficult work, and they sustain the difficulties both of living in it and of paying for it. And those are patrons, and they're marvelous, and that's what gets published. The American poor are grateful for a roof and for a bathroom and for a place that doesn't leak. And they, too, are subject to avant-garde architecture and willingly live in it. And just yesterday we visited a quite remarkable-looking, in some ways ridiculous, in some ways brilliant building by Helmut Jahn, which is a single-room occupancy hotel. Now, no one in the American middle class would willingly live in a place like that because they have a choice. Down the street is a traditional building that doesn't actually make a spectacle of themselves, of their living there. So the American poor behave very well. The issue is the American middle class. Now, the American middle class is the one set of consumers of architecture that is never addressed in an architecture school and never addressed in the magazine. And the reason is very simple, is they have a choice. They have a choice, and when given a choice, they will choose generally something else. And so it terribly confuses architects. You know, it escapes them. And it is only through traditional architecture that we can engage them in the conversation which ultimately leads to the creation of of an environment. Now, you might say, isn't that trivial, the American middle class? It's not. The American middle class is huge. The American middle class, and bear me in this might seem like an outrageous claim, but in fact, it'll sink in. The American middle class and its lifestyle is responsible for almost entirely for the environmental problems of the world today. It is the way they live, the way they consume, the way they amuse themselves, the way they drive about, the way they use the land. It is the American middle class, and now its export version to Asia, to India, to Eastern Europe, which is responsible for the environmental problems we have today, i.e. climate change. So when people say, well, you're only working out in rural X in Arkansas, or you're working in the Southeast in the Sun Belt, and you're only doing these communities, what do they matter? They are central to the issue. And we could not do it if you all had not learned to competently provide traditional architecture to permit we, the urbanists, to communicate with them and with the developers. Okay? So what we're doing is terribly important because of the shared language of traditionalism.